Can you introduce yourself and the company you work for?
My name's Frank Schunkel and I work for Man Benham. We're an out-of-Man based law firm and corporate service provider specializing in e-gaming licensing.
Let's start with a warm-up question. Why does a casino need a license or even multiple licenses?
There's two primary reasons, really. One is for player trust. If you don't have any kind of license, how does a player know who's behind there? How does the player know his money is safe? So that's one reason, really. You want your players to be able to trust you. But the other reason really is we live in a world, especially this industry, that is getting ever more regulated. And the regulations come not just from government, but they come primarily from the compliance sector, payments, banks, all your suppliers that you deal with as an operator. They want to know that you're legit. They want to know that you don't run away. And by having, for example, a tier 1 license like the out-of-man one that we specialize in, everyone knows you are legit. You are a real company, you really have money, there's a real owner, we know who that is, and you are basically a legitimate business.
What are the most common casino license types that a player can find online these days?
Usually when you go to any kind of operators, you will either find local licenses where the country requires it. For example, we're in the Netherlands. The Netherlands requires you to have a Dutch license to offer it to Dutch players. Or you will find so-called grey market licenses, and there are different levels, really. If you look at the lower tiers, you would find the Curaçaos, for example, or the Kawanaki or Montenegros. They are lower, I wouldn't say they're easier to get, but they are lower tier. And then you'll find the tier 1 licenses, which Malta certainly is one, and the one we do, the Isle of Man, is probably the best known, or most reputable right now. And that's a tier 1 means there's a lot more strict checks behind it. And these are the primary ones. And if you are a player, the first thing, if you find a new casino or any kind of gambling site, scroll to the bottom of the homepage, check where they are licensed and that they are licensed. If they're not licensed, I wouldn't touch it. And check where the license is, that the links work and that it's actually real. That's very important.
So, as you said, your company is focusing on the Isle of Man licensing. But maybe most of the viewers don't know what is the Isle of Man. Can you put this place on the map?
Of course, it's a small crown dependency, which means we're not part of the UK, but we're part of the British Isles. So we have our own government. It's called Tynwald. It's the longest continuously running government in the world, over 1,000 years. It's not the best, but it's the longest running. We are based in the Irish Sea, right between, if you get a map, Ireland, Scotland, we're in the middle, and the Irish Sea. It's its own country, basically, which allows us to bring in our own gaming regulations. And we've been doing the gambling licenses, the various types, for over 20 years now. And in fact, our company, Man Benham, we were one of the first. We did some of the very first big names that came to the Isle of Man, and some of them are still there. We did their licenses, and we've been doing it for almost as long as the industry exists, really.
Why would you say that the Isle of Man is a business-friendly place?
Numerous reasons, not just gambling related, but if you are a digital company, so gambling, finance, even crypto companies, it's very friendly. Because our quality of life is very high, it's very safe, it's very tranquil, it's a beautiful little hidden paradise, and we actually don't want to tell people too much about it, but it's also very business friendly. We have no corporation tax, we have 0% capital gains tax. If you bring a gaming company, the tax rates are quite favorable. And the whole setup, because it's so small and we have a local government that's a phone call away and we drink in the same pub, basically. It's a small island. It's very good at reacting quickly. If you have a requirement, give you a simple example. One of my previous projects when I was an operator, I wasn't quite sure if that kind of gambling site would be licensable, if the regulator would be okay with it. Instead of having to go for lengthy emails and meeting requests, you just picked up the phone because I know the regulator and they know us and we all know each other. I was like, is this okay? And in a very short time span, I got a reply back saying, yeah, that's fine. So it's very, very welcoming, very business friendly and very stable as well. It's been a stable business destination in gaming for 23, 25 years now. So it's a hidden little paradise.
Why would you recommend the Isle of Man gambling license over other licenses or next to it?
I think there's two angles to this, and knowing that a lot of your viewers will be players as well, I want to put the players angle on it. So let's start with that. If you're a player and you play with any of the lower tier operators, they may all be very well and fine, you may get paid, but if things go wrong, you often find it's very difficult to get justice for yourself. And in the Isle of Man, there's two key things. Number one, there's a regulator that you can reach and they will react very quickly. Trust me, I got the emails to prove it if there's an issue. But number two, your money is safe. The flagship policy of the Isle of Man are segregated player fund accounts. So even if the company goes pop, the CEO decides to run away, your money is safe. It is ring fenced. You can't lose it. Your balance that's there, you're going to get it. That is the absolute flagship one, which is why players should really put the Isle of Man license at the top of the trust list, because your money is safe. I'm not saying the other ones at Curacao aren't, but you may have bigger issues, and they don't have any specific legislation, I believe, that would cover that kind of thing. So that's from a player's perspective. It's the safest choice. You know that we know who the owner is. We know that the money is clean. We know there's no crime involved. That's the other thing they check when you get a license. You know, it's the regulator's job is to keep crime out of gambling, and they do that very well. They're very strict. So you know it's a real company, real person. You're not getting anything dodgy, and your money is safe. As a player, that's, you know, a reassurance that I would want if I play. As an operator, equally, you are more respected. Players can trust you. We're very business friendly. We now see, for example, Curacao is bringing in changes, big changes. Loads of people move to us because these same regulations, they come for everyone. It's getting stricter wherever you go. And you may as well do it right and come to us where you have stability. We have over 20 years of stability. It's the most stable jurisdiction you can think of. Our parliament has been running for over 1,000 years continuously. I mean, that tells you something about the place. It's very, very business friendly. It's not as expensive or complex as you think. I can get you a license within 4 to 6 months for a price that in the long run makes doing business much cheaper. I can get you the best suppliers. You can, with an Isle of Man license, because we are tier 1, you are able to get banking. All the PSPs will want to deal with you. If you're Curacao, they're not going to deal with you. You have to have a Cyprus arm or something. So yeah, you are basically in the best possible place to future-proof your business. The way I sell it is future-proof your business. It's only going to get more regulated. Stay ahead of the curve. Come there where it's super business-friendly and respected.
What are the main requirements and fees involved into getting Isle of Man license?
So if you're an operator and you come to us, there's a number of fees, of course. Nothing's for free in life. The government fees are a £5,000 application fee that's going up to 5,600 at the moment. Inflation gets all of us. That's due when we put the application in. And then when your license is granted, it is now 36,000 and something pounds a year. It's also just gone up. I literally just got the email. That is per year. And then you have a gaming levy that is between 1.5% and 0.1% depending on volume. That's of GGR. It's very, very competitive with other jurisdictions. And that's on the fee side. What we do need, and where the delays always come, is our fees are generally, we can do a fixed fee deal on the license, and it's a lot cheaper. I'm not going to give exact numbers because every client is different. And we sit down with a client, we see what do you actually need from us, because we don't want to duplicate services. We certainly don't want to charge more than we have to. We have many, many happy long-term relationships, and that's what it's about. It's sustainability. Again, with us, you know, over 20 years with a 1,000-year parliament, we don't do short-term sort of money grabs. So if you are an operator, what we do need, where the delays always come, is we need due diligence on your whole group. And that's also good for players. You know, if you see an Isle of Man crest, this means someone on the island knows exactly who's behind it, has copies of their passports and the owners of the passports, and knows where they live, because that is a requirement. And that's where the delays come. If you want to get an Isle of Man license, by all means, pick up the phone to us. I can get that 4 to 6 months. The delays always come in the due diligence. I need to know who you are. I need to know where your money comes from. And if those two things, if you can tell me that satisfactorily, so I'm comfortable with that this is legit, then we're happy to get your license in 4 to 6 months, guide you through the paperwork, very straightforward. But these are the main requirements.
Let's look from a player's perspective. How does the Isle of Man Gambling Supervision Commission ensures that the games are fair and the casino is fair and the players are safe?
So there's a number of factors that come in here. Number one, of course, is that flagship policy that your money is safe. That's what we start with. Your player funds, your balance is always segregated, has to be. Then any games you use under an Isle of Man license, any casino games, I know Provably Fair. I'm a crypto background. I love crypto. I'm a BTC Maxi, and I've done Bitcoin Sportsbook and things. And I love Provably Fair, but you can't use Provably Fair in the Isle of Man. You can't use the crash games a lot of the Curacao guys use, because they believe that RNG is not quite up to the standard. So any Isle of Man operator has to be. There's a list on the Isle of Man website. You can Google Isle of Man GSC, and you will find a list with approved testing houses. You have to use one of them to have every single game certified to a certain standard. And few people know this, and if you're a player, you might want to know this. When you apply for a license in the Isle of Man and you're a casino, for example, for every single game on your website, you have to give a certificate that's within 18 months from issuance for that game that is from an approved testing house to the regulator. They will look at it and they will see you have to give the return to player value on the site. That is being checked. So they do checks with that. That is one check that, only games that are certified by a reputable testing house can actually be offered. You're not allowed to offer any Provably Fair, good or not. And any unlicensed self-built games, it's not going to fly. That's one thing. And then the other angle that's very interesting from a player's point of view is that we have very strict responsible gambling policies. So the government says there must be tools available to self-exclude yourself, to limit yourself. And the government also has a central register. So if you have unfortunately, a small number of players do have problems with it, no reputable operator will advertise to a problem gambler. It's not good for the operator, for the player, and for the industry. It's short term, it's stupid to do it. So what we have in the Isle of Man is, if you have a problem with gambling, or you think you have, you can email the regulator and say, exclude me from all Isle of Man books, all licensees. I don't want to play with Isle of Man anymore. And the same day, the regulator will send an email to all operators. And because I've been the DO for a company, I've received these emails. I get an email saying, GSC, this individual wants to self-exclude. I have 24 hours to reply to confirm that I have excluded him if he has an account, or that I have put measures in place to block him, reasonable measures, from ever registering with me. I have to confirm that within 24 hours. There's no messing around with this. So they are very, very strict on the responsible gambling side as well. It has to be there, and it makes sense. We want a sustainable industry. We want people to have fun. Nobody wins if you ruin yourself. There is nothing gained by anyone. It's entertainment. We're an entertainment industry. If you get a little buzz out of it, if you maybe win a little bit, have a bit of fun on the side, that's what we want. It's fun. It's entertainment. And that's what we do. So again, the focus is sustainability and player safety, and giving you, people will always gamble. It's one of the oldest professions in the world, one of the oldest industries in the world. And it's always going to exist. We want to make sure it can be done in a safe and responsible way as possible. And that's the focus. And that's, in my opinion, the only proper way to do it.
How do you see the future of gambling in the Isle of Man?
I think what we're seeing at the moment is, like I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of the lower tier operators moving to the Isle of Man because our industry is getting ever stricter regulated. And it's actually not just the gambling industry, it's all the associated things you need. It's the anti-money laundering regulations. The banks are usually the most nervous ones. Payment providers, KYC providers, all this is getting more stricter. So you as an operator might be willing to take risks, but you can't, because all the infrastructure you rely on, they're not going to take it. Your bank is going to go, nah, that's not going to happen, mate. So we see a lot of people now, they say, look, you need to have a proper license or we're not going to deal with you. And the beauty with the Isle of Man is, if you have an Isle of Man license, any bank will deal with you. So we see it by really being leaders. We're adopting to crypto, for example, we were one of the first to give you a proper tier 1 crypto license, which is the same license that for fiat. We're now moving into all the other digital spaces. So we're always, because we're small, we're able to react quite quickly. And we're not rushing into things. So we do things properly with proper regulations, but they do keep an eye. We have the Isle of Man stand here at IGB, and they talk to a lot of different people, not just gambling, digital media, digital companies, DeFi. There is a case to be made for DeFi, which is big in the island. So that's where we are going, doing modern and future technologies and gambling, of course, and anything that comes with it, but do it in a well-regulated way. And trying to stay ahead, try and anticipate what tomorrow's regulation will be and bring it in today. That's I think what we're good at. We will always be that stable little rock in the Irish Sea that you can rely on, and that's been there for over 1,000 years now.
What is the thing that you would most like to know about the players in the iGaming industry?
Well, players in terms of the companies who are coming to us, I would like to know that they choose us to get their gambling license because we're the oldest name. So if you are an operator and you're Curacao licensed and you're looking at Isle of Man, we've been doing it probably longer than anyone else. But actually, players, it's nice that you mentioned it because we very much focus on the business side of things, right? I deal with regulators, I deal with operators, casinos, sportsbooks, you name it. I never really deal with players. So for me, it's obvious that you should only play with a well-reputable casino where your money is safe. But I would love to know more what players actually value. What makes it, what do you want to see in terms of how it's regulated or, for example, responsible gambling? Is it on players' minds? Is it actually something people think about? Or, so it would be nice to hear more from players. Maybe look me up on LinkedIn, drop me a message, say what's important and when you play with a casino. Does it actually matter what license they have? Do you look at that? Or if you look at it, do you actually know what it means? Do you know the difference between a Curacao and a Isle of Man? What it means for you as a player? I'd love to see more, actually, I would love to hear more from players, how they perceive the industry as well. As in general, the unlicensed, the licensed side. Is KYC really a pain in the bum for you? Is it a big no? Because in the crypto side, it certainly is still this, I'm not giving you my passport. Unfortunately, at some point with everyone, you have to, if you become big enough. So I'd love to hear more from players, actually. Yeah, just general conversation and networking and seeing what do the players think of our industry. We don't ask that question often enough.
Thank you very much for the interesting interview.
Thank you for having me.